Hello and welcome to PlayStationGrenade. 2017 was a bumper year for PlayStation gamers, with a heap of exclusives to play. Nioh, Gravity Rush 2, Horizon Zero Dawn, Persona 5, Gran Turismo Sport, Hidden Agenda, Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, and so many more. 2018 is shaping up to be even more crammed with video games, only available on the PS4. So prepare your wallet for an almighty battering and plan your way through 2018. Here's 9 PlayStation exclusives that will blow your mind throughout 2018. Let's start with the game I'm personally unbelievably hyped for, Days Gone. Originally penciled in for a Christmas release, this one completely vanished from sight for a while, but the glimpses we've seen have shown what the magnitude of the zombie apocalypse has risen to. The sheer number of freakers on screen at once is simply mesmerising.
Come and get it, dinner time.
Our job is to fill the boots of outlaw biker Deacon St. John, who's a bit of a drifter and a nomad. He's also a bounty hunter too in this new world. A global pandemic has brought about these mindless zombie-like creatures referred to as freakers, who would be best described as degenerated human monsters. Days Gone is ultimately an action-adventure survival horror game with RPG elements, with a day-night cycle and weather system which impacts Deacon's approach to each mission. This could add to the replay value of the game and a sense of planning many open-world titles fail to achieve. I'll link a video breaking down 2 ways to approach the same mission for a little more context. Days Gone is quite reminiscent of The Last of Us, with scavenging and crafting different items like a Molotov. And there's plenty of guns to go round too, and of course my favourite thing are those environmental kill animations. Days Gone is coming in 2018. As soon as the official release date is announced, I'll put it in the comments below.
Once there was an explosion, a bang which set a planet spinning in that space.
Death Stranding is an upcoming game from Metal Gear Solid mastermind Hideo Kojima. You've most probably seen some of the star-studded cast with the likes of The Walking Dead's Norman Reedus, film director Guillermo del Toro, and multi-talented actor extraordinaire Mads Mikkelsen. Death Stranding itself is still a complete mystery to many of us. With every trailer released, the story looks even more complex than it did before. Even Mads Mikkelsen struggled to understand the story when Kojima explained it to him. So what do we know so far? We know the game will be open world and include a multiplayer feature in addition to the core single player campaign, which of course will be lengthy. So far we've seen what looks like human experimentation in the shape of babies in jars. Some people believe the babies are clones of the person holding them and will mature when the adult dies. This also could be the game over mechanic, with each death leading to a new life. Also, these babies look like some kind of portal between dimensions, but we'll break down everything we know about Death Stranding in a video coming soon. Until then, let me know your thoughts on Death Stranding and if you're intrigued to play it. I personally don't believe Death Stranding will hit its deadline of 2018. More realistically, I think 2019 or maybe even 2020. Let's hope I'm wrong.
Father! Stay back, Nioh.
Any Dreamcast players in the house? Did you ever get your hands on Shenmue growing up? If you're new to it, Shenmue was one of the first and genre-defining open-world adventure games in history. It defined the QuickTime event and took role-playing to another level. As an example, there was an orphan kitten you could leave to die on the roadside, or you could take care of them in pretty much the same way you would a real cat. Shenmue had an exceptional core story running through both titles in the series, but then it vanished. Luckily, it's coming back as Shenmue 3, picking up the story of Ryu Hazuki, sorry if I butchered that name there, and his search for his father's killer. It's been 16 years since we saw Shenmue 2, and thanks to crowdfunding, it's time for a new generation to finally have closure on the story. Maybe it's time to dust off the old Dreamcast one more time and venture into 1980s China. Shenmue 3 will be a console exclusive, but it will also be released on Windows PC too. PlayStation have many titles spanning numerous console generations. One in particular has had a soft reboot to adapt to modern gameplay mechanics, God of War. It's been 12 years since we first took control of Kratos, but this time he's bringing along his son in this third-person action-adventure title. The game will pick up after the events of God of War 3 and sees a much older Kratos, with a damn sexy beard I might add, who has lost his double-chained blades and now possesses a mythical battle axe which can be infused with elemental abilities. If you like a little mythology in your video games, then God of War is for you, But this time, Kratos has left behind the Greek gods and now lives in the realm of Norse myth. So if you don't know your Zeus from your Odin, then God of War will teach you. The voice acting and dialogue sound amazing and begin to show the nurturing side of Kratos as he teaches his son to hunt. As I'm sure you expect, this is a single player outing which will last the average gamer around 25 to 30 hours with a balance of character development and monster slaying.
Long way from home, aren't you?
Let's stick to the realms of nostalgia for our next PS4 exclusive, Shadow of the Colossus. Unless you were around during the PS2 generation, this one may have missed your attention, but I can vouch for its brilliance and you'll regularly find it on many players' top 10 games of all time. It's so good, it's getting a HD upgrade. The premise is pretty simple, it focuses around Wanda, a young warrior who travels to a forbidden land. But why is he venturing so far away from home? To save a girl, of course. She has mono. No, she doesn't. She's called Mono. That would be a very different game. The only way to save the girl of your dreams is to take down 16 humongous monsters known as Colossi. Shadow of the Colossus is ultimately a puzzle game, with the only enemies you actually fight the Colossi themselves. The views, the vistas, the spectacle of the beasts are an absolute joy to see, and the twists in the narrative are jaw-dropping to experience. If you didn't play the original, do yourself a favour, don't spoil this one for yourself. Avoid the internet until you've finished it. Let's take a look at the much anticipated Spider-Man, another open world extravaganza set in New York. Thankfully, this will not be yet another retelling of Peter Parker gaining his powers. I don't know about you, but I cannot watch Uncle Ben die again. It rips me to pieces, man. This one will take place around 8 years after Peter discovered his powers and his alter ego, and is completely unrelated to the film universe, allowing the video game Spider-Man to venture into new stories and battle modern enemies. The Kingpin will still be around for traditional Spidey fans, alongside other customary villains, but the main antagonist of this one will be Mr. Negative. He's kind of like a modern version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but with over-the-top abilities. The parkour elements keep this game feeling fresh and vertical in a way that Assassin's Creed can only dream of, and the combat is reminiscent of the Batman Arkham games. So if fantasy or comic book games float your boat, keep an eye out for Marvel's Spider-Man due out in 2018. And I'm sure you Super Spidey fans have already noticed Miles is in the game too. Have you ever played a David Cage game? Fahrenheit, Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls? He specialises in film noir-esque multi-stranded and multi-choice storytelling. His latest game, Detroit Become Human, is another PS4 exclusive set for release in the first half of 2018. In this interactive story, you take control of androids who are sentient and operate in the real world as almost second-class citizens or slaves to be more dramatic. The brilliance of this type of game is the branching system. Each decision you make impacts future events, and something as story-ending as a character dying wouldn't trigger a game over screen. Instead, the story continues, and the impact of that dead character continues to affect the story hours later. To show the sheer magnitude of the branching system, check out all the permutations of a hostage situation atop of a skyscraper of all places.
I trust you.
Detroit Become Human isn't shying away from approaching unpleasant subjects either, with domestic violence and even child abuse depicted in a recent trailer. The whole game is effectively a neo-noir film, so expect a great deal of heartache and sadness to be experienced. Let's look at another long-running franchise, Final Fantasy, and the upcoming Final Fantasy VII Remake. Let's quickly state this isn't a simple HD upgrade on top of the PS1 classic. This is a retelling, a modernisation with core gameplay changes. The story revolves around Cloud, a Shinra soldier who joins a terrorist group to take down his former employers, the Shinra organisation, who have a few secret projects you will discover during your playthrough. Unlike the original game, the Final Fantasy VII Remake will utilise real-time combat, kind of like Kingdom Hearts if you've played that one, but it will retain the fundamentals of the Final Fantasy series, magic, summons, limit breakers, to name a few. I personally hope they keep in the ability to rename characters, because renaming Cloud as Captain Buttmunch will make me smile for at least 100 hours. By the way, a quick question if I may, which Final Fantasy title would you say is the best ever? Please let me know in the comments, and if you haven't played Final Fantasy, then write Captain Buttmunch in the comments to keep his legacy alive.
What are you doing, kiddo? You really gonna go through with this?
And finally, The Last of Us Part 2. I'm personally not convinced this is coming out in 2018, but the official word says it is, so I'll include it here. The original Last of Us was the defining title of the PS3. The storytelling and the character development were beyond brilliant, and the mechanics made us all feel for Joel and Ellie in their attempt to survive. We've waited patiently for Part 2 and now it's almost here. The story hasn't officially been revealed, but we've gleaned a few bits of information from the cast and directors. We know that The Last of Us Part 2 will focus on hate and vengeance. This can be backed up with the visuals we've seen so far. They're quite shocking to see, with arms being broken, dead bodies laying around covered in blood, and some scenes of torture. The scavenging, crafting and gunplay mechanics from the original Last of Us will be returning, but the question about the main characters are unanswered. Will we be filling the boots of Joel and Ellie? Some people believe Joel has already died by the time this game begins. Time will tell, I suppose. In the meantime, we can listen to Ellie's skills on the guitar. So, there we have it. 9 PlayStation exclusive video games coming in 2018. Which of these do you think will be moved to 2019? My bets are on Death Stranding and The Last of Us Part 2. Are there any other exclusives I've missed from this title? Please let me know them in the comments below. I'm Adam from PlayStation Grenade. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you next time.